This video contains detailed accounts of gang violence, shootings, and organized crime. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. December 31st, 2023. Hours before midnight. A man sits in his Edinburgh flat, phone in hand, recording a message for his enemies. He knows they're coming for him. He's been wearing a stab vest for weeks. A car tried to run him down just days earlier. There's a 20,000-pound bounty on his head. But Mark Webbley isn't hiding. He's taunting. You've had all day to make an effort. You talk a good fight. So when you're lying in bed or talking, we're going to get them. Well, here I am. Stone cold sober. Come and get it. Come and get it. Those 3 words posted to social media just hours before Hogmanay celebrations would become his epitaph. By midnight, Mark Webbley would be dead. Shot 4 times outside a Granton pub by a paid assassin who pulled down his mask so Webbley would know exactly who killed him. This isn't just another gang murder. This is the story of a man who shot someone at 19, who spent 11 years in prison, who came out and went right back to the life that put him there. A man who knew death was coming and dared it to arrive. Welcome to Dark Truth Files. Tonight we're investigating one of Edinburgh's most brazen gangland executions. A case where the victim recorded his own death warrant, where a hitman was paid in cocaine and cash, and where the streets of Scotland's capital became, in a judge's words, a war zone. Take a moment to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and please let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps us uncover the truth. This is the story of Mark Webbley, a life lived violently, a death that came exactly as he expected, and a hit so cold-blooded that even the killer joked about his victim not living to see the bells. The boy from Granton, Mark Webbley, didn't become a gangster. He grew up in a world where gangsters were the only role models available. Born in Edinburgh in 1985, Webbley came of age in North Edinburgh's Granton Royston and Wartyburn estates. These weren't the picturesque neighborhoods tourists photograph. These were concrete estates where opportunity felt scarce and survival demanded vigilance. By his teenage years, Webbley had already accumulated more than 60 convictions, assaults, thefts, the kind of petty crime that marks a boy who's learned the streets early and learned them well. But Webbley wasn't content being small-time. He had ambitions. He wanted respect. He wanted control. He wanted people to know his name. By 2005, at just 19 years old, Mark Webbley was a rising figure in what police called the Young Mental Royston Gang. The YMR wasn't just a crew of teenagers dealing drugs. They were organized, territorial, violent, and they were at war. Their enemy was Peter Simpson, a 46-year-old who controlled drug distribution in the area. Simpson portrayed himself as a Robin Hood figure, protecting the community from young thugs like Webbley. Police saw it differently. This was 2 dealers fighting over the same turf, and Webbley was determined to win. January 24th, 2005, the shooting that changed everything. January 24th, 2005, a cold Edinburgh morning. 2 men wearing balaclavas rode a Kawasaki motorbike from near Webbley's Wartyburn home. They followed Peter Simpson after he got off a bus near his flat in Granton. They chased him into nearby Granton Terrace. James Tant, 21, Webbley's co-accused and what police called his devoted follower, threatened Simpson with a sawn-off shotgun concealed under his tracksuit. Then Mark Webbley, 19, pulled out a .25 caliber semi-automatic handgun and opened fire. 5 shots. 1 hit Simpson in the back as he tried to escape into his flat. Doctors later found that if the bullet had gone just 1 inch further, it would have hit Simpson's aorta. He would have died on the spot. But Simpson survived, and Webbley's life as he knew it was over. 11 years behind bars, November 2006, Glasgow High Court. Mark Webbley stood in the dock and pleaded guilty to attempted murder. At just 20 years old, he was sentenced to 11 years in prison. 11 years. The formative years of his early adulthood, gone. But prison didn't reform Mark Webbley. It hardened him. Inside, he encountered other offenders with histories of serious violence. He learned the unspoken rules of hierarchy and influence behind bars. Those who observed him during this period noted that he maintained a presence, quiet, measured, but unmistakable among those who had known him before imprisonment. When Webbley was released, he returned to an Edinburgh that had changed in some ways but remained recognizably familiar in others. The young mental Royston gang was still operating. The drug trade was still thriving. Old rivals remembered him. New rivals knew his reputation. And Mark Webbley walked right back into the life that had cost him 11 years. The return. Following his release, Mark Webbley resumed life in Edinburgh with the same mix of caution and audacity that had defined his early years. Police intelligence consistently placed him in close proximity to organized crime operations, heroin and cocaine distribution across the city, mediating disputes, enforcing influence, maintaining territorial boundaries. While Webbley was never formally charged for these activities after his release, law enforcement reports frequently noted that his involvement in suspected criminal activity made him a person of interest in monitoring ongoing feuds and retaliatory incidents. But it wasn't just police watching him. His rivals were too. By 2023, Mark Webbley had accumulated enemies across Edinburgh and Glasgow. People who wanted him dead, people willing to pay for it. 2023, the year everything escalated. March 30th, 2021. Webbley faced accusations of double attempted murder. Prosecutors alleged he deliberately drove a car at high speed into oncoming traffic on Telford Road and Ferry Road, targeting driver Richard Hughes and passenger Lindsay McLaughlin. He was remanded in Sawton Prison pending trial. October 2022, the charges were withdrawn due to insufficient evidence. Webbley walked free, but the incident kept him in the public eye. It underscored the perception of a man willing to act decisively and dangerously in ongoing disputes. Throughout 2023, Webbley remained under law enforcement scrutiny. His activities reflected a combination of recklessness, notoriety, and ongoing rivalries. November 2023, a firearm was discharged recklessly at a block of flats. Police intelligence described it as part of broader feud dynamics, highlighting the persistent threats Webbley faced from rivals. Reports indicated that Webbley took precautions for his personal safety. He wore a stab vest on Hogmanay, a reminder of the real danger that surrounded him. That year also saw turbulence in Webbley's personal life. He was accused of assaulting his ex-partner during a children's football match, a case scheduled for trial in early 2024, but postponed due to his death. In a separate incident, he headbutted his brother Don Webbley, a convicted sex offender, in an Edinburgh pub over alleged harassment of a 12-year-old girl. He recorded the altercation on his phone while shouting abuse. Both events drew attention from the local community, with video and eyewitness accounts circulating widely. Minor legal matters continued to accumulate as well. During February 2023, Webbley faced multiple charges, including failed breath and drug tests during a traffic stop. Individually, these offenses might have seemed inconsequential, but in the context of his wider criminal history and gang-related suspicions, they contributed to a perception of constant recklessness. By the end of 2023, Mark Webbley's trajectory had become clear. His suspected ties to organized crime, combined with minor and major legal entanglements, positioned him as a figure of influence and risk in equal measure. Rivalries persisted, enemies multiplied, and his public profile remained high. Every incident added another layer to a life defined by both notoriety and vulnerability. Before we continue with what happened on Hogmanay, if this story is opening your eyes to the reality of gang violence in Scotland, hit that like button right now. Drop a comment telling me what you think could have prevented this tragedy, and share this video. These stories need to be told. People need to understand what's really happening in our communities. The Bounty. By mid-December 2023, Mark Webbley's life was under siege. A car had mounted the pavement in an apparent attempt to run him down. Police later linked it to a £20,000 bounty placed on his head by enemies entrenched in Edinburgh and Glasgow's drug scene. £20,000 for Mark Webbley's life. Warned repeatedly of threats, Webbley wore a stab vest everywhere he went. He navigated the streets with caution. He told close friends he was expecting an attack, yet he remained defiant. Social media videos showed him daring his rivals, taunting them with words that would haunt anyone who watched. "You've had all day to make an effort. You talk a good fight. So when you're lying in bed or talking, we're going to get them. Well, here I am. Stone cold sober. Come and get it. "Come and get it." Those words were meant to be a warning, a threat aimed at his rivals. They ended up being the last words of a man whose life had been defined by violence, loyalty, and notoriety. Hogmanay 2023, December 31st, 2023, 11:30 p.m. The Anchor Inn, West Granton Road, Edinburgh. Hogmanay, Scotland's biggest celebration, the night when the entire country counts down to midnight, ready to welcome the new year. Mark Webbley was outside the Anchor Inn with his friend Stuart Pearson. They were celebrating, drinking, waiting for the bells. Webbley knew the risks. That's why he wore the stab vest. That's why he kept looking over his shoulder. That's why he stayed alert. But when the stolen red Hyundai Tucson SUV pulled up about 15 feet away, Webbley didn't run. He walked toward it. The driver got out, masked, balaclava covering his face. Webbley approached. He showed the man his mobile phone. Maybe a message, maybe proof of something. Nobody knows. Then the masked man did something calculated, something deliberate. He lowered his balaclava, revealing his face. Grant Hunter wanted Mark Webbley to know exactly who was about to kill him. CCTV footage played in court would later show this moment. The mask coming down, Webbley's recognition, Hunter pulling out a Slovakian-made pistol. 4 shots fired. The first shots missed Webbley but struck Stuart Pearson. He went down, seriously injured but alive. Hunter fired again. 1 bullet ricocheted off Webbley's stab vest. But stab vests don't stop bullets. Another shot hit Webbley in the back as he tried to run. He fell, bleeding, dying. Mark Webbley was rushed to hospital. He was pronounced dead shortly after midnight on January 1st, 2024. He never saw the bells. The aftermath. The immediate aftermath was chaotic. The getaway vehicle, the stolen red Hyundai Tucson, was found burned out in Craigentinny, about 4 miles away. Standard protocol for organized hits. Destroy the evidence. Webbley's family initially refused police cooperation. A common response in gang-related murders where the code of the streets demands personal justice, not legal justice. But members of the local community left floral tributes at the pub, blending grief with recognition of Webbley's larger-than-life reputation. Among the flowers, one wreath carried words that summed him up perfectly. Hated by many, loved by millions. His ex-girlfriend, Jane Park, Britain's youngest Euromillions winner, who won £1 million at 17 in 2013, posted a tribute on Instagram. She'd been in a relationship with Webbley until recently. "I can't believe I'm writing this. We spoke yesterday. If I could cuddle you again and tell you everything is going to be okay, I would give anything to do it. The months we spent together, you taught me some valuable things in life, and I'll never ever forget you. I am absolutely devastated." The arrests. In the days following, police swiftly acted. January 3rd to 4th, 2024, the arrests of Grant Hunter, his girlfriend Emma Jane McVie, and associate Gary Robertson. They'd hidden in a fortified safe house, raising alarm among neighbors as armed officers raided Edinburgh flats. Investigators linked them to broader disputes and suspected connections to other violent incidents across the city. The evidence was overwhelming. CCTV footage from the Anchor Inn showed everything. Hunter parking, Webbley approaching with his phone, the deliberate removal of the mask, the fatal shots. Forensic evidence placed Hunter at the scene. His DNA, his movements, witnesses who heard him afterwards. The hitman's jokes. One witness who was in Grant Hunter's company on January 1st, 2024, told police something chilling. He heard Hunter making jokes about Mark Webbley not seeing the bells. Hunter bragged that he'd pulled his mask down so Webbley knew who had done it to him. He laughed about firing at Webbley while he was running away. He also expressed frustration at having to wait to be paid for the shooting. He suggested that he had expected to be paid a substantial amount of money. In reality, Robertson paid Hunter £400 and provided an ounce of cocaine on January 1st. Hunter was later paid another £300 via a third party, £700 and an ounce of cocaine. That's what Mark Webbley's life was worth. On January 2nd, Robertson visited JD Sports and spent almost £400 on clothing for Hunter and McVie. The legal aftermath, February 2024. Webbley's family held a wake celebration at Edinburgh's Village Hotel. blending grief with remembrance and references to Mark's personal code, including his insistence on protecting children from harm. The legal proceedings unfolded over the next 2 years. November 13, 2025. Grant Hunter, now 34, pleaded guilty at the High Court in Edinburgh to murdering Mark Webbley and the attempted murder of Stuart Pearson. The indictment stated the murder was aggravated by a connection with serious organized crime. Emma McVie, 27, and Gary Robertson, 22, also pleaded guilty to attempting to pervert the course of justice. McVie admitted cleaning the getaway car and the clothes Hunter was wearing, attempting to destroy evidence. Robertson admitted supplying cash in the build-up to the murder and helping to dispose of the firearm, which has still not been recovered by police. The sentencing hearing CCTV footage presented at Edinburgh High Court showed the moments leading up to the attack. Hunter parking the stolen Hyundai. Webbley approaching with his phone. The deliberate removal of the mask, the fatal shots, Webbley trying to run, the bullet hitting him in the back. Judge Lord Mulholland didn't mince words. Grant Hunter, you pleaded guilty to a crime of the utmost gravity. The streets of Edinburgh and Scotland are not war zones. This is not Chicago in the 1930s. He described Hunter as a paid assassin. The fact that 4 shots were fired at Webbley shows there was no doubt you wanted him dead. Hunter was told he would receive a life sentence, and there was no guarantee he would ever be released. Lord Mulholland told McVie and Robertson they should expect lengthy sentences for aiding Hunter in trying to cover his tracks. Sentencing was scheduled for December 17, 2025. Hunter faces life imprisonment, possibly without parole. Detective Superintendent Graham Grant addressed the media. The violence involved in this case, which resulted in the death of a young man, is absolutely senseless. Our thoughts are with the family of Mark Webbley today following these convictions. Although this was a targeted attack, there was absolutely no regard for the safety of the local community by discharging a firearm outside a busy pub on New Year's Eve. One man lost his life and another was seriously injured, but this incident could also have left other people seriously injured or worse. I want to make it clear this behavior will not be tolerated. Violence in the carrying of firearms is completely unacceptable. Why this case matters? The Mark Webbley case represents something deeply troubling about organized crime in Scotland. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment killing. This wasn't a fight that got out of hand. This was a contract hit, planned, paid for, executed with precision, a £20,000 bounty, a hired assassin, a victim who knew death was coming and taunted it anyway. Webbley's final social media post, "Come and get it," wasn't bravado. It was resignation. He knew he was marked. He knew someone would collect that bounty. He just didn't know when or who. When Hunter pulled down his mask, he was making a statement. I want you to know who killed you. That level of cold calculation is rare even in organized crime. Most killers want anonymity. Hunter wanted recognition, and the jokes afterwards. About Webbley not seeing the bells, about expecting to be paid more, about having to wait for his money. To Hunter, this wasn't murder. This was a job, a transaction. 700 pounds and some cocaine for a man's life. The case also exposed the ongoing gang violence plaguing Edinburgh and Glasgow. The feuds, the retaliation, the cycle of violence that never ends. Webbley shot someone at 19, spent 11 years in prison, came out and went right back to the life, made enemies, got a bounty on his head, died at 38. His killer, Grant Hunter, will likely spend the rest of his life in prison. Emma McVie and Gary Robertson, young people who helped cover up a murder, face lengthy sentences. For what? For 700 pounds and an ounce of cocaine. If this video has impacted you, if these stories have opened your eyes to what's really happening, I need you to share this. Hit that share button. Send it to someone who needs to see it. Leave a comment with your thoughts. Let's start a conversation that might save a life. Final thoughts. Mark Webbley's death marked the final chapter in a life defined by cycles of violence, both inflicted and received. Years of alliances, feuds, and escalating public confrontations culminated in a moment of fatal consequence outside a Granton pub on Hogmanay. From the rough streets of North Edinburgh to his violent death at 38, Webbley's story is defined by recurring patterns, critical choices and their consequences. Early exposure to an environment shaped by territorial disputes, poverty, and limited opportunity set him on a path where personal ambition and criminal enterprise became inseparable. His teenage years, marked by constant vigilance and engagement in crime, forged a reputation that persisted well into adulthood. Each encounter with the law, each act of violence, each alliance within Edinburgh's gang networks reinforced the image of a man both feared and notorious. His death on December 31st, 2023 was not an isolated event. It was the culmination of years navigating a world where reputation, loyalty, and fear dictated survival. While his life was punctuated by moments of defiance and displays of control, it ended violently, leaving a profound impact on the city, his associates, and the families affected by his actions. For the communities that observed his rise and fall, Mark Webbley's story is both cautionary and tragic. His narrative serves as a testament to the harsh realities of organized crime, the fragility of trust, and the inevitability of retaliation when rivalries remain unresolved. "Come and get it," those were his last words to his enemies. A taunt, a dare, a death wish, and they came, just like he knew they would. Rest in peace to Mark Webbley, and to all the victims of gang violence whose lives are cut short by cycles of retaliation that never end. This story didn't have to end this way. If this case moved you, please subscribe, like, and share this video. Gang violence awareness saves lives. Join our community by turning on notifications. We cover cases like this to honor victims and demand change. Leave a comment below with your thoughts. Until next time, stay safe and remember that violence only breeds more violence.